And knowing my luck, there's probably going to be like Superman himself on set by the time I release this video. It happened again. Can you believe it? Just my luck with the blessing and the curse on this channel. So I'm sure many of you are aware, but today is a bonus video because we're going to go over two new set photos from the set of Superman, which shows two newspapers contained in newspaper dispensers that show two stories covering Superman saving the day. And also within the article or the columns on the newspaper, there's a few cool Easter eggs that we can get into. So we're going to get into this, read out the entire article written by none other than Clark Kent, and just see what we have to work with here. Full credit to Larry Pompeo for posting these to Facebook. There's lots of images floating around, but the images I'm using are from him, so a big shout out for this insight on Superman. Like this video if you do go on to enjoy it. Want to give a warm welcome to all the new subscribers on the channel. I've been kind of plugging subscribing recently at the beginning of the videos, and it's got a lot more of you in. So if you've joined us, hello. I hope you enjoy the future content here, and hey, if you haven't subscribed yet, maybe today is the day you'll click that red button, and of course leave a like on the video for the bonus video on a Saturday, which, you know, I don't always upload on Saturdays, but how could I help myself? So first, let's look at the newspaper photos. This is kind of brilliant, kind of world building, if you will. I'm sure maybe we will see newspapers in scenes. You know, we're going to be in the thick of the Daily Planet, so maybe we're going to see all kinds of Superman stories. But it does remind me, for example, there are stories like this that get made for set pieces, if you will. Even the Batman set had newspaper dispensers showing and teasing Superman in the sky flying over, some kind of red streak flying over, a little bit of a callback to those of you who remember that. But as for David Corenswet himself, it's crazy to think that this is the second look that we've got of him in the suit outside the suit reveal, and who knows, maybe early next week we might actually get actual footage of him on set. But hey, this is the next best thing. So we can see Superman with his hands on his hip, an absolutely brilliant classical Superman pose. Now, the thing is, the picture on the newspaper of Superman isn't great quality. It's as though like the newspaper dispenser over time with the little plastic preview window or glass window that they've got is kind of all crudded up a bit with age, maybe a bit of dirt. So you can't really see it in full detail. And I mean, it'd be amazing if Gunn actually released scans of these newspaper photos, but I doubt it. But it is out there now, so Gunn, maybe you want to get ahead of that so we can get a bit of a better picture. But obviously, the big crest, something we already know that David Corenswet's suit has a big crest, the Kingdom Come crest on his chest. And the trunks here do seem to be, as what I suspected, a bit more of a boxer brief style. Not so much Y fronts, but kind of going down in boxer briefs. And the interesting thing here is that the belt, as we got a bit of a preview of in the suit reveal when you really brighten up the image, it seems to be pretty thick, as in quite a bit thicker than what I imagined. And we can also see the red loops on the belt, so they actually come from the red of the Superman trunks, which is pretty cool. Another thing to notice in the background of the Metropolis Eagle Superman image is that since they're talking about how Superman saves 20 after downtown building collapse, well, you can tell in the background that he used his cold breath freezing the ruined building, as I'm sure it was on fire. You can kind of barely make it out. Some people have done kind of upscaled images, but you can blatantly tell there's like icicles forming on bits of burnt down wood, and just overall like an icy background behind Superman as he kind of looks off into the distance like that. So absolutely love this. I really, really love this. And there's all kinds of things that we're about to get into because, you know, this begs questions of how long has Superman been active. We know that James Gunn said he's already an established hero, and we know it's not an origin story, but the question is, has he been active for a year and a half, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, maybe? I wouldn't really like it to go beyond that. I think, as I always say here, the Matt Reeves kind of approach with not doing an origin with the Batman and doing a Batman who's still becoming, but he's already a year and a half into Batman, is a really cool way to handle it. So a year and a half of, you know, Clark being Superman, I think, to 2 years is the sweet spot for me personally. And then we have the Daily Planet newspaper saying Superman stops MTA rail from running the tracks, and you can actually see him right on the edge of the train there, slowing it down to a halt. And you can barely make out his trunks. There is a teeny bit there. Some people were, I mentioned that because some people were saying there appears to be no trunks in this picture. I honestly think that's just the angle. The Daily Planet one is from Tuesday, September 7th, and the Metropolis Eagle one is from Thursday, May 20th. Now, we don't know if that's the next year, and if September was before that, or maybe the September Daily Planet newspaper is of the same year, but in September several months later. And we do not have the year on these newspapers. That's something important to mention. So we don't really get a true sense of time of how long Superman has been active saving people. I know we kind of just went over that. I think it would be like a couple of years. Obviously, we can have the time span here of May to September, but this could just be from 1 year. He could have been doing saves from January to December for a few years now, and there could have been all kinds of newspapers like this. So let's now dive into the actual content of these papers, because there is quite a few cool Easter eggs. And I'm going to start off with the Metropolis Eagle one, because I've gone over every single word of the columns written by Erin Morrell saying no fatalities and what could have been a tragic outcome. But the body of that, there's honestly nothing even really talking about the save as far as what I see here. Again, I've read all of it, but the Metropolis one, written by Clark Kent, which is funny in of itself, that gets into a bit more detail. But what the Metropolis Eagle newspaper teases is a few cool things. So, as you can see on the top left there, it says Chocos seeks factory workers. Now, I believe that is an Easter egg, as many people have pointed out already, to Martian Manhunter, because this is his kind of favorite snack, the Choco cookie snacks. So it just looks like the factory for the Choco cookies are seeking workers. Maybe Martian Manhunter, as a bit of a hobby, goes there and works there. I don't know. But then one of my next favorite ones is Lex Luthor wins the Arcane Genius Award. Now, this could be an Easter egg to that of Anton Arcane. And you guys know me, I am a big Swamp Thing fan, cannot wait to get into James Mangold's Swamp Thing, and I've been saying for a long time, I hope that they do get into, or at least at the very least, should I say, tease Anton Arcane, and he is most definitely a big bad to that of Swamp Thing, but I suspect that could be, before I go on a big tangent here, maybe a bit further down the line, but we're going to have to wait and see. But what I also like about this is that Luthor's story of winning the Arcane Genius Award has just been delegated to a different page on the Daily Planet. You can just imagine him reading the Daily Planet newspaper thinking, oh, maybe I'm going to get some good coverage here. You know, I just won the Arcane Genius Award. And he sees Superman. And as he says, fame is fleeting, but Lex Luthor is forever. So now for the Daily Planet Evening Edition, and this is where the fun begins, because as we can see on the headline, Superman stops MTA rail from running off the tracks. The price of this newspaper is $8.50 compared to that of the Metropolis Eagle's $6.25, and that's quite a bit of money, jeez. But what I like about this, photo credits, Jimmy Olsen. I do wonder if that is set up between Clark and Jimmy. Does Jimmy already know that Clark is Superman, whereas maybe Lois doesn't? There's all kinds of things that I'm really excited to learn about the film, because again, Superman's been active for a while, so there's maybe one or two people who know, but maybe with some reveals yet to come, such as Lois herself. Maybe that's going to get into the whole romantic arc of the film. Now, again, by Clark Kent. I love that. It's funny. Lots of memes out there with people saying Clark Kent's gassing himself up. In all reality, you know, he's working for the Daily Planet. Perry is probably like, Kent, write that Superman story. So he kind of has to, if you know what I mean. I doubt he's like, oh yeah, I just saved this train. I'm going to gas myself up. Even though there's probably a little bit of, you know, maybe I do want to put good optics out there of my superhero persona, but it's good to see, especially with the body of text, teasing perspectives from those Metropolis citizens who were saved and their thoughts on Superman. We even get some insight like that. So, by Clark Kent, let's read this out. Heroism flashes once again across the Metropolis sky in blue, red, and gold. At 8:02 a.m. on Wednesday, the Metropolis Transit Authority, MTA, received a distress call from the northbound A train with reports of brake issues and uncontrolled acceleration. I just wish I had David Corenswet's voice narrating this rather than mine. That would be brilliant. Resulting in multiple missed stops along Morrison Avenue. Now that right there could be a little reference, an Easter egg to that of Grant Morrison, which is pretty cool. With over 300 passengers on board, panic spread as the Metro Rail Trail reached hazardous speeds and barreled through downtown New Troy. Potential disaster loomed only a mile away, with a pipeline construction near the Metropolis City Hall meant an 80-foot segment of the railway track had been removed, leaving a 3-story drop between the Metro Rail train and the unconnected railway tracks. So before I continue on, what's also cool about this is that this is somewhat of an Easter egg or homage tribute to that of a scene in Superman for All Seasons. Now, I do want to say there's been quite a few comic panels with Superman stopping a train, so you could really say there's a bunch out there, but since we know that this film is influenced by that of Superman for All Seasons, I've talked about that a lot on this channel, I'd like to think that it is a reference to the scene and the panels that I've probably been showing on screen, so that is another cool thing here, and who knows, maybe we are going to get a montage of these saves in the film. I think that would be really cool as well. It's actually, that would be similar to a scene in Superman Returns, where Clark returned to Metropolis, as we know, and he's in the Daily Planet, and as you're seeing on screen right now, there's multiple saves that they do, or multiple news stations covering, you know, Clark putting out a burning building, similar to the other paper here, and some other things. So, who knows? We were helpless, said the train operator Tom Wadsworth. There wasn't enough time for the MTA to intervene. Emergency brakes were malfunctioning. I could see the break in the tracks just ahead. I prayed for a miracle. Thankfully for Wadsworth, and this is where the newspaper cuts off in the dispenser, continuing on here, and ready to help, Metropolis hero Superman blazed to the front of the runaway train. In an impressive display of superhuman strength and bravery, Oh, Clark, you know, picking yourself up there. Superman slowed the train to a halt. And this is where we get a perspective from a witness. Because of Superman, or should I say somebody who was there, because of Superman, I am still alive. Passenger Evie Schreiner commented on the city's most famous superhero, which is, just to interject here, interesting, because we know Superman's an established hero from Gunn, as I keep mentioning, and we know there's other heroes out there, Mr. Terrific, Hawkgirl, you name it. Who knows if one of those other metahuman compatriots is actually an origin in this movie? That's always a possibility, but we didn't know if he was the most popular, because, you know, he could still be emerging, and I've always believed that people would know of him, and you know, newspapers like this would be reporting on him, but had he really garnered a lot of popularity? But as Clark says himself about himself, Evie Schreiner commented on the city's most famous superhero. Evie, along with many of her fellow commuters, was on her way to ... probably saying work. Continuing on, and a native metropolitan, Evie credits Superman with not only saving her life, but also declared that he is the best this city has to offer. He saved hundreds of lives this morning. He is the best this city has to offer. That is a perspective from a Metropolis citizen. And honestly, I know this is just little tidbits, stuff that, again, might not even really be seen in the movie too much outside of what I speculated. Maybe we could get some stories of Lois and Clark writing about Superman in the film, or maybe like a newspaper gets slapped down, or maybe they're in the elevator and similar to Superman Returns, they're reading a save about the Man of Steel. It could be stuff like that, right? But it's still just cool to hear little grains and nuggets like this, because we've been dying for anything, guys. And I know this isn't like crazy, but you know, we've been covering this for a while here, and even a line like that would have been a whole video from me like 2 weeks ago. So the fact that we've got all of this now is awesome. Now, according to MTA officials, no one was injured. The passengers were transformed to shuttle buses to continue their commutes. Investigations continue into ... This is where it breaks off. And I'm guessing that is meaning, why did this train almost go off the rails? Is somebody doing this deliberately, or was it just a little fault that had no diabolical intentions behind the scenes? You know, who knows? But that is the article written by Clark Kent for the Daily Planet Evening Edition. And I really loved just absorbing all of that. And I don't know if any of you guys read the whole story, but if you hadn't, there it is. And I just love what I am hearing. And I love kind of seeing a little bit more from the perspective of Metropolis, the saves that he's doing, getting an actual look at Superman, even though it's covered up with a bit of a muddied window, if you know what I mean. It's just, and who knows what Monday is going to bring. But that is everything, honestly, I'm going to get into in today's video, guys. As I keep saying, we're probably going to get more early next week. Up until now, just in case you really don't know, they've been setting the sets up, and it does seem to be from the filming announcements to locals that Monday is going to be the day of shooting. So make sure you are subscribed to the channel for maybe a lot more tangible stuff, even beyond how awesome this was. And all that's left to say is I'm going to leave the floor to you. What do you guys think of what we've seen here? The little Easter eggs, the thoughts of Clark himself covering his own save. But I hope you guys enjoyed this bonus video. Of course, I was going to cover this today. Like the video if you did enjoy it. I deeply appreciate that. I really appreciate all the support on this channel, guys. You know, it's been going very well recently. So, yeah, I just can't wait to cover even more. Check out my news roundup from yesterday, by the way, because we cover some other Superman stuff, but also some Batman Caped Crusader character breakdowns, among some other things, as well as my review for The Boys Season 4, Episode 4. But until next time, I'm going to love you and leave you. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you fellow Kryptonians in the next video. Goodbye.